Hi guys, this is Jack of all trades, and today I want to talk with you about my investments in 2023. I want to try out a different format. It's not as smooth as the previous videos that I made, but I just want to make a PowerPoint, share what I did, and hopefully it will be useful to you. It takes me a little bit less time to make it, and hopefully it will be just as useful to you. Well, let's start. Today, I want to first talk with you about my performance in 2023. We'll go over how I started 2023, what my portfolio was, and what my goals were. Then we'll go over all the transactions I did. I'll show you how I ended 2023 and what my lessons learned were. Well, here you can see my performance. On the right side, you see a snapshot of the portfolio that I made by myself in Google Sheets, and it gives me all the information that I actually need. In 2023, I made a year profit of 5,905 euros, which is similar to 20.53%. If I compare what I did to the benchmark, the MSCI World, I would have made 17.75% if I did the same deposits that I did in my own portfolio. So I could say I beat the market, which is a nice feeling. In 2022, I had a loss, so my total profit is now 4,076 euros. My biggest winners overall were Amazon, Google, Aegon, and ASML. And my biggest losers were Bayer, Alibaba, and Flow Traders. In my Google Sheets, on the right side, on my dashboard, you can see this information as well. On the right top, you can see the different sectors that I'm in. I always try to have 50% of my portfolio in ETFs and the other 50% in stocks. On the left bottom, you can see all the different stocks that I owned at the end of the year. Red is the value at that moment, and yellow is what I paid for it. And the difference between the two is a percentage, and that percentage is in the right bottom. So there you can see if it's below zero, then I made a loss, and if it's above it, then I made a profit. The left top will show me different information that I can look at daily, which is nice for me to have an overview. So I started 2023 with what I did in 2022. In that year, I added 80,000 to the stock market and lost 1,830 euros, which is a 10.17 loss, unweighted. In 2022, I did not track my performance very well, so it feels like 2023 is a short reset. In 2023, I had a portfolio that started with a value of 16,170 euros, which included 1,559 cash. I owned 4 different ETFs with a value of 7,379 euros. They included a Dutch, European, American, and World ETF. I owned 8 different stocks with a value of 7,231. I will show you which one I owned. At the beginning of 2023, I owned Aalberts. Aalberts is a Dutch company. They're an industrial company. And in 2023, I made a profit of 5.51%. I also owned Bayer. It's a German pharmaceutical company. They're currently in a lawsuit, and because of that, they lost a lot of value. They're using a product called Roundup, and there's a lot of lawsuits going on that might be causing cancer, and they have to pay a lot of money to their customers. Because of this, the value went down, and it was not a good investment. Another stock that I owned is Basic-Fit. It's a fitness school in the Netherlands, well, at least it started in the Netherlands, and it's expanding in Europe. I like the company, I like their reputation, and I like the way they're doing business. They're using all the profits from one fitness club and put it into the next one, which I think is a very smart thing to do. I also owned Amazon, which was one of my best investments, which made me a 61% profit. I also own Alibaba, but all the Chinese stocks have gone down the last couple of years. So also Alibaba. I'm still holding them because I think they are a good company. There are some risks when it comes to China, but I think they will get better. Another company that I own is Alphabet. It's the owner of Google. They have a very solid foundation. Everyone knows Google. They use it as a verb, so it's famous. It's known, and they make a lot of profit. They're really like a cash machine. So I like to own them, which I will keep doing. At the beginning of 2023, I also owned Meta, Facebook, and I also owned Thor Industries. But during the year, I sold both of them, and I will tell you why later. So I started 2023 with several goals. Well, at the end of 2022, I found my strategy, which is a core satellite strategy. For me, that means that I will own 50% of my portfolio into big ETFs, and the other 50% I will do some stock picking. So I get some safety from my ETFs, and I can still make stock picking into my hobby for the other 50%. The stock picking should be based on the long term. I also add monthly to my portfolio, so no excuses, every month the same amount. And my goal is to outperform the market, but if I don't succeed, that's fine as long as I learn. Learning, well, that's also important to me. In 2023, I wanted to learn more about investing by listening to podcasts, watching videos, and read books. And my goal was also to share what I learned with others. Well, I'm doing that with this video, but I'm also trying to help friends and colleagues to become a little bit better with investing. So my transactions in 2023, what did I sell? Well, I didn't think it was a good idea to have 4 different ETFs that track about the same companies in the world. So I sold my USA, Europe, and world ETFs, and I bought one that will track the whole world, and I made it into an accumulating one, so I don't have to look at it again. It was distributing, which means you will get your dividends paid out into your account, but accumulating means that the dividends will become part of the ETF itself, so to say, so I don't have to reinvest anything. There is other stocks that I sold, as I mentioned earlier. I sold Meta and I sold Thor Industries. I sold Meta, which actually not with a good reason, because when I bought them, they went down a lot, and I was just happy to recover some of my losses, which was not based on the fundamental value of Meta. So it was actually a mistake, and it was proven to be a mistake because later on the price of Meta went up a lot more, and I could have made a big profit. I made a loss. So it is something that I should learn from for next time. Thor Industries is a little bit similar, but not as bad as Meta. Thor Industries, they sell campers. They own different camper brands and they sell them. And they're very cyclical. So if the economy is doing well, then everyone will want to buy a camper. But if the economy is not doing well, then everyone will postpone those expenses. And Thor Industries will sell less campers. When they passed the price that I bought them for, I was happy. And when they kept growing, I decided to sell because I was not sure enough about the business. And I was happy to compensate for the losses that I made earlier, which is not a very good reason. So what did I buy and sell in 2023? So I didn't start with these companies and I also didn't end up with them. It's a short-term buy and sell, which is not necessarily what I want to do. But if I see an opportunity, I will go for it. There are 3 companies. The first one is Sofina. It's a Belgium company. And the main reason I bought them is because they own a small part of ByteDance. And ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. Sofina has a lot of other companies, and I noticed I didn't do my research well enough. So when the price of Sofina went down, I got a little bit insecure if I made the right decision to buy them. So when the price went up and I heard and read more about TikTok, about their hype and about the politics influencing the use of TikTok, I thought it was a good idea to take my profits and look for companies that I'm more confident about. I made a nice profit, so it was not a bad idea. The second company is Signify. Signify used to be part of Philips, and it's actually the light bulb brand of Philips that split off from the main company. Well, it was actually based on a play that was shared by a very good analyst of a website that I follow. And at the moment, it was undervalued. There was a high dividend coming up, so I thought I would take the chance. And it was a good chance because in 1.5 months, I made almost 10% profit and also got 5.7% dividend. So I was happy about this. The third one was Netflix. I feel Netflix is a very strong company. They have competitors, but the competitors are not as good. Netflix also became a verb, like you're gonna watch Netflix for an evening. Let's Netflix together. And because they went down a lot during 2022, I decided to buy them. And when I bought them, they actually directly went up. So during 2023, I decided to sell them as well because I felt they were going towards being overvalued. So when I bought them, I thought they were underpriced, but they went up too fast. I got acrophobia, which is fear of heights, and decided to sell them. I think it's not a bad decision, but yeah, maybe in hindsight, it went up more. Maybe in the future it will be even better. So maybe I should have kept Netflix. I still have to think about that. So my transactions of 2023, what did I buy and still own? Well, the first one is Berkshire Hathaway. It's the company of Warren Buffett. And I made a almost 14% profit with them, which is really nice. I'm happy to own them because they're like an investor's dream. Everyone always talks about Warren Buffett or about Charlie Munger, who unfortunately died last year. And I'm cheating a little bit when it comes to my ETF rule. My rule is that I should own about 50% ETFs, but because Berkshire Hathaway is owning so many companies, I count them as an ETF. So I can be part of the fund, and I can count them as an ETF. The next one is ASML. It's a very good, famous Dutch company. They're in the chip industry and they have a monopoly. They're currently fundamental in the world. They're a little bit susceptible to political influences because of America is now forcing the Dutch government to tell ASML to not sell their best products to China. So that's one factor that's influencing them. But because they are so strong and they barely have any competition, I thought it was just a good company. In 2023, they did not increase that much in price compared to all their competitors. So I thought it was a good idea to buy them. And my goal is to never sell them. So I'm happy to own them. And I already made a nice profit. Other company that I bought is Flow Traders. Flow Traders is a Dutch company that does very, very fast, frequent trading on the stock market, actually. And it should be a good hedge against an economy going down. But it turns out Flow Traders is actually not necessarily a hedge. It goes up when there's a lot of volatility because they can take advantage of the difference between the bid and ask price. So I'm happy to own them if that situation would arise. But for now, I made a loss on them. I did receive a good dividend, but it did not compensate for the loss that I made. Another company that I bought is TSMC. It's in the same sector as ASML. They are Taiwanese semiconductor. I don't know the exact name. And I did not make a profit on them, like 1%, barely anything. But they were cheap. They have less of a monopoly than ASML, but they are fundamental in the world as well. They are very vulnerable to politics as well because they're in Taiwan. So let's see how that goes. For now, I'm happy to own them, but I don't know. I'll keep a look on them in the future. There's 4 more companies that I bought, which is LVMH. LVMH is the owner of Louis Vuitton, but also of Hennessy and other big companies. They're into luxury. I made a small loss on them. I did receive a small dividend though, but I like to own them. It feels very secure to have them, and I would like to expand on this position in the future. They did go down in price a little bit, but I'm sure they will recover because the demand for luxury products is always very high. And if the economy goes down, then usually these companies will still perform relatively strong. The next 2 companies that I bought are ASR and Aegon. They're both insurance companies from the Netherlands. Their prices went down a lot because of an upcoming lawsuit, but that lawsuit has now been settled for quite a low price. And I bought both companies before it was settled. So I made quite a good deal, especially on Aegon. It went up by a third. I'm happy to own both, and they give very good, steady dividends. So let's hope that will keep going. And the last company that I bought, I'm really happy to own, is Microsoft. I've been looking at them for a long time, and I decided that, well, I'm not going to look too much at the price for this one. I just want to own it because they will keep growing, and it's a company, if once you're locked in, you will never leave them. They have very strong positioning and brand. As I said, they're not cheap, but I plan to hold them forever. So then the price right now is less important, because infinite growth has no price. So at the end of 2023, these are the companies that I owned. I'm not going to go over them one by one because I mentioned practically all of them. The first two are my ETFs. The AEX is the Dutch ETF. I own them because I'm Dutch, small percentage. The biggest one that I have is the MSCI World. And well, the next one is Berkshire Hathaway, as I mentioned, and the other ones who went over in the earlier sheets. The total value that I have right now is 42,076 euros. I added a lot of money this year because we got into some money because of insurance. And yeah, that's the total value that I have. The ETFs are about 50%, almost at 50%. And the other stocks that I own are worth 3 to 6% of my portfolio. There are some exceptions. One is Aegon, because I'm already into the insurance sector with ASR. I decided I would add only a little bit of Aegon. The other exception is Bayer. They went down so much in price that their value is very low, but I decided not to add to them. So I'll just see how that develops. And another thing to notice is that I try to keep my cash as low as possible. So yeah, that's a very low percentage as well. So what did I learn? Well, don't sell just because you made up for previous losses, which I did with Meta and with Thor. Understand the risks of your investments, which is Sofina. I mentioned before, they're the owner of ByteDance, which owns TikTok. And I was not really sure what the risks were. And when I went down, I got a little bit insecure about it. So I should have done my research better, and I had no time to do that. So I decided to sell once the price was up a little bit. I also learned that more ETFs is not necessarily better. So because I learned that, I changed my strategy and I went to one big ETF and a small one that follows the Dutch stocks. And the last one is don't buy into a lawsuit. I think it's everyone knows you shouldn't, but I still did. Well, currently I'm bleeding because of Bayer, so that was not a good decision to buy them for now. Well, that's actually the end of the presentation of what I did last year. I hope it was useful to you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Send me a message, leave a comment. I love to talk about stocks, so just let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.